And in this demonstration on this brow, you are going to see some double strokes and also some of the S strokes as we're working. So the first thing that we'll do is our front strokes. And do remember, you need to do the same front on the right brow as you did on the left brow. You don't want one curved brow and one straight brow. Those first 3 strokes are very important because they do give the design to the front of the brow. And you're going to see that the blade again is held at a 90-degree angle, and we are putting pigment on only one side of the blade. You need to have the side of the blade near you clear so that you can see where you're going. Please have something available to clean your blade with if you feel the need. You will be picking up skin cells, and you might get a little bit of excess pigment and need to clean it off. Now we're doing our first 7 strokes. That last stroke headed right into the spine, and now our transition stroke. Again, one little tiny stroke that will guide us in changing direction on the upper outline. We're going to continue with the bottom, and we're going to be doing some S strokes. And so you can see they have a little bit of a curve to them. Doing a backward S, and they're really beautiful in the bottom outline. And it's okay to combine strokes. So if you want to do S strokes and then maybe fill in with a few regular strokes, that's absolutely fine. Just be consistent brow to brow. The strokes are gradually laying down evenly. We don't have one drastically going down and then another one going upright. They're just laying down gently until you get to the end, and that last stroke again will be right on the outline. Now we'll go to the upper outline, and we're going to use our transition stroke as our starting point. Remember, it is important to keep that top straight, so angle your blade in the right direction and then slightly curve it down. Need to bring it all the way down to the spine. We have to allow room for our additional secondary strokes. And as always, we remind you not to do pendulous strokes hanging down. When we get to the tail, we're doing our strokes straighter. So now you're going to begin to see definitely layered straight strokes to finish that tail. Now that we have our outline, we would mask, and that is rubbing the pigment in as you saw in the last video. We're going to move on though and fill in and do our lower strokes, the secondary stroke where we're actually going between the strokes. These strokes generally start just a little bit higher than the initial strokes, and they will curve over and blend into the spine. Now's the time to be very careful about not crossing. Blending is okay. Crossing though will create blots of color instead of nice individual strokes. And the blade is again kept at the 90-degree angle so we don't get color diffusing underneath of the skin. Strokes are slow and consistent so we get an even cut and even color. And you can see how that begins to build the density of the brow. It looks much fuller, and we're also seeing more definition in that classic spine that we've designed. Now our upper strokes, our secondary strokes, we're going to fill in, and the first stroke is almost horizontal, and then the additional strokes will blend into your first stroke and bring that down to the spine. So in essence, we're blending those top strokes into the spine, and it might help to visualize 2 lanes of traffic flowing into 1 lane. We don't want them bumping into each other, just flowing together. You can change your position slightly to make the work a little bit easier. Again, direct that blade in the direction you want to go to begin with. Always be aware of your blade. That's why we tell you to work clean. And not all strokes have to be long strokes. We've said it before, but you can make smaller strokes to fill in so that you don't end up crossing other strokes. And then once we have our bottom and top outline filled in, we can then go ahead and look for any empty spots Oftentimes in the front, in the head of the brow, you'll need to put a few small strokes in, and then after that we mask the brow. And when you're masking, make sure to stretch those little cuts open and really push that pigment in. We're using a microfiber applicator, and the mask will stay on for a couple of minutes. Here we're going to go ahead and clean it off right now, but immediate you'll see more deepness, more richness in the color. And this will also make it easier now for you to go back and do your fill-in of the existing stroke. And once we've cleaned the mask off, we can take a look at the brow, see if we have any areas to fill, and then we can use a smaller blade to go back in and fill any strokes that look like they're not complete. Sometimes as we're cutting, we don't cut evenly, so we want to make sure that that stroke is at the same depth. And those strokes should be twice as dark as the natural hair and about twice as large. You will get shrinkage of the strokes and fading of the color as they heal. Now we're doing our second pass, and it's important that you hit that stroke exactly. So please, when you put that blade down, feel the groove, feel that you're in the hair before you start going through it. It should glide through. If you meet any resistance, then it could be that you hadn't cut evenly to start with. It's very important that you fill 100%. If you do not have all of your strokes really filled in with pigment and cut to the same depth, you are not going to have good retention, and so we'll have a lot more work to do at the touch-up. We want the strokes to heal an even color, and if they're not filled or cut identically, they will look spotty.